I used to think that elbow escapes and hip escapes were kind of like the same thing, but they're not. So elbow escapes, they work great in just about all the positions until he's hip down. Then this becomes a problem because of this crossface, right? So the problem is that now I can't elbow escape because I can't get my elbow to his knee very well. I can't get my knee underneath his knee. This becomes a real problem. And so now I can start thinking about hip escapes and other things. I can think about them before we also get this crossface also. But just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at here, go ahead and come all the way up. So, no, just here. So generally speaking, when we're thinking about like hip escapes, we're here with the cross frame. Basically, we go ahead and get our hips out, and now we can start to go. The problem with that is that when we're mounted like this, and let's say that he just pinches his knees, right? And then I go to hip escape, I can't do it anymore. So that's the problem that we find with hip escapes. So let me just do this solo for a second. So when you're looking at the hip escape, you have to look at what we're using to free our hips, and also the elbow for the hip escape, because we're escaping our hips. So if I just use my elbow, it's very hard for me to get it past my hip, right, with all this body weight coming forward. So the next thing is going to be my wrist, my hand, my fist, and being able to push beyond my hips and free my knees even is where I'm going with this. So if I have you mount me again, Blake. So when I'm here, even though that I'm on my side, I have my cross frame, you have to understand which hip you're hip escaping. So if you look at my hips, think about my bottom hip, and I have a top hip. And the bottom hip is basically starting to point towards my top hip, and then my top hip is pointed towards whichever hip I need my hand placement to be at. So if it's on this side, I need to now turn my hips towards that side, even with his knees pinched. I'm still able to push him out. Now I can free my hips. So conversely, if we're back in here, and let's say that my hips are pointed that way, and I want to free this side, I can also make a fist, put it into the soft part of his hip, and now I can hip escape. All right? The problem with if I don't use a fist on this side, also you don't want to hang out here because he can take his hand and underhook straight through, and yeah, now this is really bad. So why I don't want to use a palm on this side is because if he starts leaning forward and really putting a lot of hip pressure, this is really hard for me, right? But if I take something hard and I put in something soft, go ahead and lean forward. Okay. Most of them aren't going to be that excited about it, but that's